All right, so to do the thumb, I have to pick up these stitches I put on. And you'll notice you've got this little bit of a gap here between your stitches. So there's a couple things we can do to close that gap up. The first thing I'm going to do is unknot my scrap yarn. And I happen to have 16 stitches on my thumb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this scrap yarn and I'm going to pick up 1, 2, and I'm not, notice I'm picking up the stitches, but I'm not pulling my scrap yarn out yet. This actually isn't a stitch. This is actually just a loop. But here's what I'm doing. I'm going to pick up my stitches, and you'll notice as I'm doing it, I'm pulling, because when I pull that, you see how that closed that loop. So I'm going to 2, 3, and I don't pull my scrap yarn out until I have all the stitches on my needle, just in case. So there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's half of my stitches. So now what I'm going to do is pull the needle out so it's all set up for me to be knitting in the round, okay? So now I'm going to pick up the next 8. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I have 15 stitches. Never mind. All right, so now I've got all my stitches on the needle, okay? Now I'm going to pull my scrap yarn out, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is start knitting the thumb. I'm going to start it like this and hold 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay, so I'm going to hold this yarn in the front, put it between the 2 stitches, and I'm just going to pretend that that yarn is attached. And I am just going to take this and start knitting with it. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Turn it. Get ready to start the next side. Oops, lost my 8 stitches. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to do these 8 stitches, but remember there's that gap at the end. I want to deal with that gap. So what I'm going to do I'm going to come in here with this gap. So you all see that gap? You see what I'm talking about? Between the stitches. So what I'm going to do is on this side, I'm going to pick up, I'm going right inside where the one of my stitches is. And I'm going to pick up a stitch. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to pick up a second stitch. No, I'm just going in the gap and I'm going to pick up 2 stitches. And I'm doing it on this back needle. And then when I come around to this needle, to these 2 stitches, I'm going to knit those 2 together. But what I'm going to knit together is, because I want this to be joined as though it's one, so what I may end up doing is knitting these 2 together and then having that one there. So by doing that, I'm going from 15 stitches to having 16 stitches. depending on your yarn, depending on the gap, sometimes I pick up 3 stitches and knit 2 together. Sometimes I only pick up 1. So it depends on what my gap looks like. But now I'm going to just keep knitting until the thumb is as long as I need it to be. So how long do you need your thumb to be? Hold on a sec. There's the first one. Now I'm doing the second one, and I have to make sure. Well, it's a certain number of rounds, or it's a certain length. But if right, but if you're making this for somebody that you've got the hand right there with you, you can actually try it on. All right, so I'm going to knit these 2 together to get to my, and there's that. All right, so here's the thumb on this mitten. So when you finish up your thumb, you don't do a whole lot of decreasing like you do at the top of the mitten because it's so small. So you knit the thumb until you want it just about as long as you need it. Then you take 1 round and you knit 2 together all the way around. And then at the very top, you do like I showed you with the mitten, where you take your yarn, put it through the stitches, pull it tight, and then that just closes up the top of the thumb. You want the thumb because there's not a whole lot of knitting after you get it to the length. You want the length of your thumb to be right at the top of your thumb. Okay? So that when you put it on, the thumb, when you try it on, it's right at the top, so you can just close it up.